To make this spinach paratha, you're going to need some spinach. So I have one bunch of spinach that I have washed and chopped into nice medium-sized pieces. To this I'm going to add 2 tablespoons full of ginger garlic paste. Lovely. Add 1 tablespoonful of white pepper powder. Okay. I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoonful of garam masala powder. One teaspoonful of salt to taste. Don't add too much, ensure it's correct. Okay. Add 1 teaspoonful of red chili powder. Okay. 1 teaspoonful of turmeric powder. And 1 teaspoonful of cumin powder. Okay, now this is done. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons full of mayonnaise. Now you could add cream as well, or you could add just 1 teaspoonful of yogurt if you like. But guys, I have to tell you, with mayonnaise, this is the magic ingredient. Your parathas will be absolutely soft, and you'll keep wondering what has made them this soft. And it's this brilliant magic ingredient of your mayonnaise. Okay, now mix everything real good so that your spices get coated properly and equally across all. Okay, I've actually taken it in my plate where I make my Indian flatbread, so I have some amount of flour underneath. But don't worry, we're finally going to add flour to this, so it doesn't make a lot of difference. But importantly, just kind of mix up your spinach with the spices, the ginger garlic paste, the mayo, real good, because that is important. We have to get the flavor all together. Okay, so take time to mix this. It may take about 2 to 3 minutes, but take real good time to ensure that everything is coated well and everything tastes the same. Lovely. So this is done. I'm now going to let this sit together for about 30 minutes at least. Okay, if you guys don't have time, then just go ahead and start in 15 minutes. But it's better if you let this sit for 30 minutes together, because that way everything will blend in together and taste the same. And then we're going to continue the recipe. Lovely. So it has been about 30 minutes that this has been sitting together. And now I have some wheat flour with me. This is wheat flour or Indian flatbread or chapati flour. I'm just going to add about 2 good bowls of this. So I have about 8 to 10 of these parathas. Lovely. And now the trick is that you start mixing this with the flour and use the flour to separate the spinach mixture from each other. So you have a nice separate mixture all along, and they don't cluster together when you make the paratha. They're nice and separate, so it kind of makes it easy for us to blend them together when we roll our parathas. Okay, so you see what I'm doing? That's all that you need to do now. This again takes a little time, because remember you've added mayonnaise, which makes it more moist, and which is making it more difficult to separate off. But like I said, use the dry flour to separate them off from each other. Okay, which not only helps to blend the flour together with the mixture, but also ensures that our spinach mixture doesn't get clustered together. Lovely. And this is a very important step in making your parathas right. So ensure you go right with this. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little more of the dry flour because I want to make a little more of the parathas, and my mixture demands for it. Like you can see, some part of my mixture is still there at the bottom, which is actually quite moist, which hasn't still combined with the flour. So look, this one, I'm going to ensure the flour helps me to separate it off, because when you make the dough, you want to have a very comfortable dough which you can handle and manage. Okay, so if you have a dough which kind of keeps sticking and it's all in clusters, it's going to be very difficult to form the parathas at the end of the day, because the content of the parathas is very high, as you see, or the filling that we call it is extremely high, because it's a wholesome paratha, so it's meant to be. But because it is high, we have to ensure that they purposely don't remain in clusters, which is more important. So if you need, keep using a little dry flour to kind of keep mixing them, blending them together. Lovely. So this kind of looks decently blend, and our stuffing or the spinach also looks nice and separate. It's not in clusters anymore. Okay, so now I'm going to start making the dough out of this. So start getting them together to make a nice dough. Okay, another tip. By the way, I haven't added any water to make this dough up till now. And you see, it's forming pretty well. So that should be the exact consistency of your mixture. Okay, because you should be able to use nil or just very minimum water, for the simple reason that I want to keep the flavor intact. I want the dough to get formed in the content moisture, so it's all together and kind of tastes better. I can actually smell the lovely dough. Trust me guys, spinach with this kind of combination helps to increase the healthy content into your body, because knowingly or unknowingly you're eating one whole bunch of spinach, and it's a tasty combination for you because you don't realize you're eating that much spinach. At the same time, goes into your body. Your kids will like this combination, I assure you. And it kind of is a little different meal, I would say. It's wholesome, so it's filling for sure. And it is a different meal than our daily meals that we eat. You could try this sometimes, so it kind of becomes a nice change for your kids, for your family. Okay, and like I said, look at this. My dough is almost ready, and I haven't added a single drop of water. How do you like this? Yes, and that's what we call an expert dough, where you don't use any water. Lovely, isn't it? And I assure you, you can get to this stage. Just ensure the ingredients are right, ensure everything is right, you add it in the right proportion like I said. You won't need any water. Okay, so my dough is nice and ready. Now, it's a little sticky as you can see because of our mayo, and that's the way I'm going to keep it, because I want it to be nice and moist. But if you feel you can't handle it sticking, you can take a little flour just in your hand, okay, and add it to the pot. I'm going to just sprinkle some. Okay, Now it's this side. I'm not going to add a lot of flour because I don't want the taste or the flavor to get lost because of my excess flour. At the same time, I don't want the dough to keep sticking to my palm. Like I said, the best dough is when you don't use water, so you make it through the contents of the content that you have in. At the same time, none of this really sticks to your palm. Lovely. Okay, so this is done. I'm now going to add some oil. Now I'm using some canola oil. You could really use any. Just about 1 tablespoon of this oil to ensure when we lightly fry these, they keep the moisture intact. They taste delicious. And I'm pretty confident this will help making it all my life. We make it, by the way, exactly the same way in our restaurants. Okay? And a lot of people come to our restaurants only for these parathas because we're famous, and it's, by the way, a USP where we say we make parathas without any water. And now you know the recipe. I'm glad. Okay, so the dough is absolutely ready. I'm now going to start making my roundies. So take a little in your palm, like this, turn it around, pat it in the center, and there you go. Place it in your dish. Once again, I'm going to show you one more. Take some in your palm. So take a generous, about this much quantity of the flour, of the dough, because it's going to be a nice full-size paratha. And it's nice and wholesome. So that way, I'm just going to finish all, and with this quantity I'll easily be able to make about 8 to 10, which is enough for 2 to 3 people to eat this as a nice meal, as your lunch or dinner. It's a nice change for your kids, adds to your health. Your kids will end up eating spinach, which not a lot of kids enjoy otherwise. But this way kind of gets into the system, and it's a good clean-up ingredient, I would say, for your system as well. So one of the things is you could actually make smaller ones as well by taking less of the dough, and then kind of making these roundies, smaller roundies. But that depends. I think it's a matter of choice, I would say. But I kind of make them nice and large, so you get the feeling of eating a nice wholesome paratha. But again, it's really a matter of choice. That doesn't really change the taste or the flavor of your beautiful paratha. Yes, and I have students here who are pretty amazed that we're making a paratha without water. And yes, that's the magic ingredient, I would say. Yeah, which is why you have to ensure that you keep the mixture of your spinach with the ingredients of mayo and ginger garlic paste and the salts and the spices to settle together, so spinach starts acting like a microorganism where it starts releasing a little amount of its moisture. Okay, lovely. There you go. Now I'm just going to add some dry flour at the center, because I'm going to need to pat these and then take it onto my wooden board. Okay, so after we're at this stage, I'm going to take just one of my roundies, place it in the dry flour, pat it in the center, roll some dry flour on top, dab it down so that it can just stretch a little so that the dry flour gets into little corners and ensures that your contents don't kind of pop out. Lovely. I'm going to get this onto my wooden board and then just get it to a nice round paratha. Okay, one of the things that you need to remember is when you add so much of the content in your paratha, you're actually stuffing a lot, which is why it's called the wholesome paratha. But you have to be mentally prepared that you're going to have some content coming out at times, okay? But don't worry, that just adds to the flavor because it gets additionally roasted, or rather lightly fried when we make the paratha. So don't really worry about those smaller things. Just enjoy the taste of these wholesome parathas. Okay, just get it to the side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you one more. I'm going to make about 2 to 3. The rest will be made by my students, but just to show you, I'll just make 2 to 3. Okay, dab it in the center. Don't have much place. That's fine. Just going to dab it in the center, just so that my contents are full. Okay, turn it around. Go one more step if possible. Place is really less in this plate. Okay, keep dabbing it. Stretched it real good. I'm gonna bring it to my board. Okay, and the same thing. Just get it to a reasonable size. Now another thing is, don't use the ready-made wooden chapati making boards for these kind of parathas, because it's not going to work. These need constant manual rolling, and by those you're going to just end up getting the stuffing out in the first go, and or it will not get distributed equally and then doesn't taste pretty good. So do a little hard work, guys. Just do it this way and relish the taste at the end, I would say. Lovely. So this is done. Get it to the side. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the rest exactly the same way, or have my students finish these, and then we're going to come back to you when we get to lightly frying these or really cooking these parathas. Okay, so the rolling of all the parathas is done. So now I have a nice non-stick pan which is nice and hot. To this I'm going to add a little cooking butter and let this melt completely. Just grease up the entire pan, making sure that every inch is well greased. Okay, lovely. I'm now going to add one of my parathas. Chop it decently well and let this cook. Keep the flame at the highest. Okay, once you see bubble-like stuff coming up, you gotta realize that that side of the paratha is done, which is why you need to kind of just dab it down and try and tossing it over. Lovely. We want this nice goldenish color to come up. Okay, I'm just gonna toss in a little more butter so that that side gets cooked well. Okay, just keep moving it like this so that the butter spreads equally along all the circumference of the paratha. Just gonna keep dabbing it like this so that the side is done. Okay, and this is done. Okay, just add a little more butter. So what you do is, of your cooking butter, you make small pieces and you just keep them ready. So each time you have to add a paratha, you have your butter ready. Okay, toss it down. Wow. Okay. Just kind of dab it so that it doesn't remain raw and it's cooked. Okay, as a supplement, you could probably add, as a substitute, you could add oil as well. Okay, to your parathas. So, cooking butter gives a delicious taste. And trust me, you're going to add the same amount of oil when you make the paratha. Because you add it before adding the paratha, then you add it to the circumference, then you toss it around, you add it again. Works out to the same thing, guys. So, I just leave it to you. It's a matter of decision that clearly you need to make. But I would say the way it's made in restaurants is with butter. Clearly butter. I mean, there's nothing else that can bring this delicious taste. Okay, it's nice and melted. I'm gonna pick my next paratha. One of the things that you need to remember is as soon as you roll your paratha, stop making them. Don't leave them for far too long on each other because then they'll start sticking. Because there's enough moisture for them to be nice and moist. So they may just start sticking. So that is something you will need to be careful. Just going to keep dabbing it. Okay, try to toss this over. And they're really wholesome, so it will be very easy for them to break. So, be very careful when you toss them over. Ensure the side is done. At the same time, don't burn it. You just want it to be done apt. Okay. So this one's done. I'm gonna lift this up. Lovely. So I'm just gonna finish all exactly the same way.
Doesn't sound too convincing. Almost 5 months after the deal's.
Okay, there you go. That's my heap of wholesome spinach paratha. Serve this with some pickle and yogurt. Enjoy.